Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. I didn't get a kiss goodbye. Just her perfume hanging in the hallway and a sticky note stuck to the fridge with a smiley face drawn in black marker above it in her handwriting. 30 days, no texts, no guilt, no you. Then I'm all yours. That was it. That was her pitch. Clean deal. She called it her little reset. I called it. Well, I didn't call it anything because I wasn't allowed to. She stood in our living room the night before with her duffel bag already zipped. No tears, no hesitation. She had this glowing confidence, like someone about to take a vacation they planned without the kids. I'll do what you want after, she said. Marriage counseling, that weird weekend retreat, the whole rom-com makeover. But first, I want a month without you. I laughed, weak, nervous laugh. So, I'm like an emotional detox. She kissed the air, didn't even touch me. You're sweet when you get it. And I agreed, like a complete idiot. Now, I'm not going to pretend I was the perfect husband. I forget birthdays. I zone out when she talks about her co-workers. I'm not athletic or mysterious or particularly good at anything besides spreadsheets and reheating leftovers. But I never thought she'd actually want time away from me, let alone plan for it. I lasted 6 days before I opened her laptop. Not to snoop, just to feel closer to her. I know, pathetic. But when I saw she hadn't logged out of her synced cloud, my stomach turned. There were new files, pictures, a hotel suite in Miami, her in a green dress. I'd never seen her on a balcony with a man whose hand was not just on her waist, but inside the dress. And the worst part, the folder was named No Regrets, April. I slammed the laptop shut like it burned me. I felt like I was losing air, not just because she cheated. No, because I let her go, thinking she was coming back. That sticky note still on the fridge, but now I've started writing my own note, and hers won't end with a smiley face. She thought I'd wait in silence, check my phone like a lovesick teen, reread old texts, watch sad movies with a pint of ice cream in my lap. Honestly, I did all of that for 2 days. Then I got angry. Not loud, not destructive, just quietly furious in a way that makes you start questioning everything you thought was real. Her reset wasn't a pause, it was a door closing, and she expected me to sit on the welcome mat. On day 7, I called her mum, just casual, just to ask if she'd heard from Jessa. She said, "Oh, honey." She sent me a photo from Turks and Sis. Looks like a dream, huh? I choked on my own saliva. My wife told me she was staying with her friend Lacey to unplug. Apparently, she was unplugging with palm trees, sunsets, and a man named Carter, who I later found out wasn't just a rebound. He was a prequel, an old co-worker, someone she used to complain about. He thinks he's so clever, she'd say. Yeah, I guess clever enough to steal my wife. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or send angry messages. I just went to the attic, found the shoebox where she kept every anniversary card I ever wrote her, and reread them. God, I was pathetic. Writing poems like a fool, promising her forever, saying things like, "You make me whole." And even in silence, I'm loud with love for you. I wanted to go back in time and slap that version of me across the face. By day 10, I decided if she wanted space, I'd give her miles. I took money out of our joint savings and booked a room at a quiet lake cabin 3 hours away. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, just me, the water, and this boiling storm in my chest. I started writing letters, not to her, but to me. Letters I wish I'd written years ago. Letters that said, "You're not boring, you're just loyal." And she mistook that for weakness. On day 14, I finally opened the envelope she left in my drawer. She said it was a little something for when I missed her. Inside was a printed itinerary, hotel bookings, dinner reservations, spa treatments, all for two, under her name and Carter's. She planned this not like an impulsive break. No, like a vacation package. Like I was the excuse she needed to pack light and run faster. But I wasn't going to stop her. She said 30 days. Fine. But by day 31, I wouldn't be here. Not in this house, not in her life, not in her version of the story where I sit around like a placeholder while she explores what it's like to be free. Let her be free. She has no idea what freedom costs. The most insulting part wasn't the betrayal. It was how calmly she did it. No guilt, no drama, just a printed itinerary like this was some business trip she'd earned. That's when something inside me stopped breaking and started shifting. I wasn't going to be the confused, abandoned husband anymore. If she wanted 30 days, I'd give them to her, but not in the way she imagined. I started with the basics, quietly moved our savings into a separate account, one with only my name on it. She'd used our money to book a vacation with another man. She'd pay for that. I wasn't reckless about it either. I logged in through a library computer 2 towns over. No digital trail, no phone pings. I made sure of it. Next, I sold my car. It was old, barely running, but I took what I could and paid the last of our joint bills. Then, I carnaled the utilities for the house, scheduled them to shut off on day 29. I even filed a change of address form for her mail, sent it to her parents' house. She didn't want contact. She'd get none, but she also wouldn't get warnings. And the most bitter part of me is smiled while doing it. I stayed up late, writing a letter. One I wouldn't send until the final hour. Not out of spite, but out of precision. I wanted her to return to silence, to darkness, to a cold fridge and empty drawers. A hollow shell of the life she thought would sit still for her. I left just enough clues for her to feel them in the walls. Missing photos, drawers emptied, things slightly rearranged. A ghost who packed while she was tanning. But I didn't just vanish. I rebuilt. I called a former colleague from Oregon, someone who once offered me a job years ago. I always said no because of our life here. This time, I said yes. Within a week, I had remote paperwork, a new bank deposit set up, and a small apartment waiting for me in a city where she didn't exist. Day 27. I texted her for the first time. One message, no punctuation. Hope your month is everything you wanted. She didn't reply. Maybe she was still pretending to feel guilty. Or maybe Carter was pouring her another drink, telling her how liberated she seemed. I wondered if he knew she left her husband by deal, that she negotiated her way into infidelity like it was a gym membership. But she had no idea what was waiting for her on day 30, and I couldn't wait to hear her key turn in a door that no longer opened. I parked across the street from the house the night before she was due back. I didn't plan to spy, but I couldn't help it. I wanted to see her face when her key didn't work, when the porch light didn't flicker on, when the electricity, water, and gas were just gone, when the photos were missing, the closets gutted, the furniture sold, or donated, or dumped. I sat there in my rented car, the one under a different name, and waited like some desperate ex, hoping for closure. But I wasn't hoping. I was watching. And when she finally showed up, she looked radiant, tanned, smiling, probably imagining some emotional reunion, maybe even expecting me to welcome her with a, "Did you find yourself?" Instead, she fumbled with the key, then fumbled again. She looked around like maybe she was at the wrong house. Then she tried the door harder, knocked, waited, knocked again. When she peeked through the window and saw the emptiness, her entire body stiffened. She stood frozen, processing it. And that's when I left. I didn't stick around to see if she called the cops. I didn't wait to hear her shout my name into the empty house like some tragic scene from a drama. No, I drove to a small coffee shop just outside town, opened my email, and hit send. The message had one attachment, a scan of my letter. The one I wrote her during week 2, the one that began, "Dear Jessa, 30 days without me gave you everything. 30 days gave me clarity. While you were finding yourself, I finally found out what I was married to. And I told her everything, that I saw the folder, that I knew about Carter, that I sold the house she never cared to protect, that I used my half of the money to leave quietly. No drama, no fight, just absence. And in that absence, she would find the consequences she thought she could delay with a smile and a tan. By the time she called me, blocked number of course, I was 2 states away, sipping diner coffee and scrolling apartment listings. Her voicemail was hysterical, a chaotic blend of tears and rage. "You left. You actually sold our house. What the hell, Emery? You said I had space." I replayed that part 3 times, not because I enjoyed it, but because for once, her voice shook, not mine. For once, she didn't sound like the confident negotiator. She sounded like the one who got played. And I didn't even need to lie or cheat to do it. I just let her go. The part that still stings, I meant to fight for us. I was willing to go to therapy, to change, to work harder. But she didn't want a partner. She wanted a pause button. She wanted to play both sides and return to me like nothing happened, like I was some saved file she could reload when her adventure got boring. I'm not a backup. I'm not the fine print at the bottom of her fantasy. And as she stood in front of that empty house, I knew I'd finally taken something back. She never expected to lose my dignity. I expected her to call. I didn't expect her to beg. She left 3 voicemails in a single hour, each one more chaotic than the last. Her voice cracked. Not from tears, but from shock, like someone waking up from a dream and realizing it was actually a nightmare. The house was gone, our accounts frozen, her clothes packed and dropped at her mother's doorstep days before she even landed. And that man she ran to, he didn't stick around either. Turns out Carter wasn't interested in her after the vacation glow faded. She called him from a motel, probably right after she realized her return to normal fantasy had burned to ash. And he told her, and I quote, "Because she left it on my voicemail by mistake. You said you had your own place. I didn't sign up for this drama." It was like listening to Karma in Heidi stereo. But here's what really got me. She tried to flip it. She actually said, I blindsided her, that I violated her trust. As if asking for space, flying out with another man, and lying to my face were just harmless detours on the road to personal growth. According to her, I should have waited. I should have had faith. I should have given her a chance to explain. Explain what? That she had options, that she needed time to breathe. By letting someone else touch her, while I sat home, breathing through panic attacks. She didn't just cheat, she gambled. She thought she could sample freedom, then come back and reheat the marriage like it was some frozen dinner. But the microwave is broken now, and the kitchen's on fire. I didn't respond. I let the silence weigh on her, but I watched. Oh yeah, I watched from a distance. She tried reactivating our joint accounts, frozen. She tried entering my new login, blocked. She even posted a vague quote on social media. Sometimes the ones you love hurt you the most. Comments were off. I wonder why. Day 34. She sent a letter to my brother's address, handwritten. I opened it with shaking hands. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be an apology. But no, it was a request. Please, let's talk. I think we made mistakes. I still love you. mistakes plural, as if mine were equal to hers. I didn't respond, but I did keep the letter. Not because I wanted to remember her, but because I wanted to remember me, the man who finally stopped begging for crumbs and learned to flip the whole damn table. Let her sit in the space she carved out. Let her decorate it with what-ifs and should-haves. I'm not coming back. She finally found me. Or at least, she thought she did. I came home one evening to find her car parked across the street from my new apartment. The same red convertible I once begged her not to buy because we couldn't afford it. She sat inside with the engine off, sunglasses on, pretending to look at her phone while glancing up every few seconds. It was strange, really seeing the woman I once adored acting like a stranger, trying to rehearse an apology. I didn't approach her. I went upstairs, closed the blinds, and waited. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang twice, then silence. I watched her through the peephole, holding a small box in her hands. Inside it, I later discovered, was her wedding ring. There was also a note. Short, 2 lines. You said 30 days. I never knew that was forever. Please just hear me out. I didn't answer that night. Instead, I sat on the floor, staring at that ring, thinking about how something meant to symbolize permanence now looked like a souvenir from a trip she took without me. I poured a glass of whiskey, the first in months, and realized how pathetic it was that even then, part of me still wanted to believe her, to think she finally regretted it. But regret isn't love. Regret is when you realize your plan failed and the safety net you kicked away isn't waiting to catch you anymore. The next morning, she was still there, sitting on the hood of her car in her oversized hoodie, eyes swollen, hair messy. When I opened the door, she looked at me like I was her last chance at oxygen. I messed up, she said softly, voice trembling. You don't know what it's like to wake up and realize you ruined everything. I wanted to yell. I wanted to tell her I did know, because I woke up to that feeling for years while she ignored me. But I didn't. I just asked one question. Was he worth it? She hesitated. That pause, longer than any confession, was my answer. She tried to fill it with excuses, stories about confusion and needing to feel alive, but I'd already heard it all in her silence. So I shut the door calmly. No slamming, no shouting, just finality. She screamed my name once, then twice, and then the sound of her footsteps faded. A few minutes later, the car engine started, and that was it. The last time I saw her in person. The funny part, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel strong. I felt empty, but in a peaceful way, like the noise had finally stopped, like I had been living in static. And now, there was just quiet. She thought she could undo what she did by showing up with tears and nostalgia. But some things don't reverse. Some things stain. The month she wanted without me became the lifetime she'll spend without forgiveness. 3 weeks passed. The air around my life was still like the quiet right before a storm. Or maybe the silence that comes after one has already wrecked everything in its path. I hadn't heard from Jessa since that morning. She sat outside my apartment with her box of regret. But I knew better than to think that was the end. People like her don't accept endings. They try to rewrite them. And right on cue, the universe answered with a knock. It wasn't her this time. It was her sister, Carrara. She stood at my door in workout clothes, looking uncomfortable, like she was about to do something she wasn't proud of. She handed me an envelope, said, "I'm sorry she dragged us into this," and left before I could even ask what she meant. Inside the envelope were printed screenshots, social media posts, comments, and one email, an exchange between Jessa and a friend of hers that I hadn't seen since our wedding. The messages told the whole story. Jessa hadn't just disappeared for a reset. She'd planned this for months. The month apart wasn't a request for clarity. It was a cover. She had told her friends she was testing her worth, seeing if she could upgrade her life by detaching from what she called the anchor. That's what she called me, the anchor. Dead weight. The email was the worst. She joked that she was auditioning for a new life. And if it didn't work out, at least Emery will be grateful I came back. She even attached a photo of me, one I didn't know she'd taken, where I was asleep on the couch, drooling with the cat curled against me. The caption read, "Can't believe I used to find this cute." I stood there holding those pages, heart pounding, hands shaking. I wasn't angry. I was humiliated. There's a kind of pain that doesn't shout. It just settles into your bones like cold water. That's what this was. I didn't respond. Not to Kara, not to Jessa. But a week later, I saw her name again, on a LinkedIn post of all things. Turns out Carter wasn't just a fling. He was her co-worker's client. And when the firm she worked at found out she'd used personal time to vacation with someone tied to a deal they were negotiating, she got fired quietly, without fanfare. The same way she tried to walk out of our marriage. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a flash of satisfaction. But it didn't last long. That's not who I am. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for closure. And instead, I found confirmation. She didn't just lose me. She lost the version of herself that could have had it all and threw it away because she thought she deserved more. But more never called her back. More ghosted her after the resort tan faded and the compliments dried up. And now the people who once cheered her on were silently unfollowing her one by one. That's the thing about burning bridges. Sometimes the island you are standing on sinks, and there's no one left to pull you out. I wasn't watching to punish her. I was watching to make sure I never let someone like her back in again. And no matter how loudly she knocked, I kept the door locked, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Something she traded for a fantasy and couldn't get back even if she cried for it. 2 months later, a small letter arrived at my new apartment. No return address, just my name in her handwriting across the front, like a ghost tapping on the door. I thought about tossing it in the trash without reading it, but I didn't. Maybe part of me still needed to understand what she thought she had left to say. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't even an apology. It was desperation, dressed up as sentiment. She wrote that she missed what we used to be, that she couldn't stop thinking about the mornings we made coffee together, or the way I used to warm up her car in the winter. She said she didn't know how good she had it until she lost it. Then she dropped the line that sealed it for me. I think this needed to happen for me to grow. Maybe one day you'll see it that way too. That's when I laughed. Actually laughed. Not bitter, not angry, just free. She thought her betrayal was growth. She thought her absence was a lesson I was supposed to be grateful for. But here's the truth. I did grow, just not in the way she expected. I stopped waiting for her to come back. I stopped trying to understand why she needed more than I gave. I stopped thinking her chaos was something I needed to weather. And I started living. I moved, started a new job, got a dog, believe it or not. His name's Theo. He barks at doorbells and sleeps with his head on my knee. He doesn't leave when things get hard. He doesn't take space to decide if I'm enough. He just stays. And me, I stayed too, with myself, with my peace, with a version of life where I don't need to chase someone to feel loved. I never wrote her back. I didn't need to. The silence was the closure. The life I built without her was the answer she thought she deserved, but never earned. Let her keep her 30 days. I've got the rest of my life. Thanks for watching the final part of the story on Reddit Confessions. Was there a moment in the story that shocked you the most? Maybe something that reminded you of a time you saw someone finally stand up for themselves? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories that cut deep and heal stronger.